Who Put This On? It's Season 4, Episode 11, where we watch Alone, Season 1, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz.
I'm Harrison Hoffman.
I'm Brian Houston.
Alona Beth.
Robert Kitts.
I'm Mr. Survival Max.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that was
Survivor Max. That's pretty okay.
that dead air was thanks to Survivor Max.
Brought to
He
you
was
by
not
Survivor Max. Have you survived? Are you named Max? Who knows?
He was not paying any
Survivor
attention.
Max.
Second week in a row, we got to start cutting Max's mic.
Oh,
Third week.
yeah.
He's on fire.
He's doing good this week.
This is Who Put This On, brought to you by Chris Lorenz. Chris Lorenz, what are you doing this week?
All right.
So,
Harrison.
by the way, we also had a tequila shot before this because it is National Tequila Day.
That's right.
For people listening to this not on National Tequila Day, we recorded this on National Tequila
You missed
Day.
it.
Listening to this podcast gives you permission to do an extra shot of tequila, even though it's not National Tequila
Because
Day.
you forgot about it. If you did a tequila shot on National Tequila Day, way to go.
And you can do another one.
All right, I would like to take this moment to just have a moment of remembrance for everybody who took a tequila shot just now and didn't fare very well.
All right, Harrison, can you give us the description of the show, please? And
When are we cutting Max's mic? I'm
all
serious.
right.
10 men are left in solitude and separated from each other in the harsh Vancouver Island wilderness. With no camera crews or producers, they have to survive using only what they can stuff into a backpack. They will hunt, build shelters, and fend off predators as they face extreme isolation, psychological distress, and the terrifying plunge into the unknown. That's Alone on the History Channel.
Thanks, Harrison. This show is real weird. It is a survival show. 10 people out in the wilderness, and we get to see them go through day 1 and day 2. And some people don't make it all the way through, which we will get to, I guess, in the minutia.
Oh, yeah.
There's not really a whole lot like to go gleam like over the whole episode. It's just 2 days in the wilderness for 10 people.
And every moment is minutia.
How many people are there?
10 men
10
remain.
men remain.
Thank you. So this show is real nuts. I don't even know where to start, to be honest.
I mean, maybe we could start by their whole arrival situation. So these 10 men are going to be put in separate parts of this big area, and they made it such that the terrain's kind of impossible to make it to one another. They did mention that there's a giant mountain range in the middle, impassable, and so now they're completely cut off from contact with everybody. Even if you tried to walk in, I don't think you'd be able to walk 5 miles, and then the other person has to walk 5 miles.
It's true. They're definitely alone. These people are dropped off via helicopters or boats, and they're just really next to some sort of water, usually on this island, which is, this isn't fresh water, so they can't just drink water as they come off this boat. They're in the middle of this nowhere. They're by themselves, and they've got 10 items they brought with them, and they have not including their clothes, which we'll get to. So it's just it's pretty scary to just be out there. You've got no fire, you've got no food, presumably no food, and you're just kind of screwed right off the bat.
I cannot imagine what the insurance must have looked like on this show. It's just, I can't believe that somebody didn't die in this show. It's insane.
We don't know that.
I mean,
We
we
haven't
don't know
watched
that,
the whole season.
but I would assume that it's not on Prime Video if somebody died on it.
Well, it could have started with 11 men.
Oh,
And we've
no.
just gotten the producer's cut.
You edit it out.
Yeah.
But then how many men remain? I don't understand.
We'll never know. It could have started with 50 men.
You know,
We know how many remain. We just don't know how many started.
Oh, that's true. It doesn't say 10 out of 10.
True.
yeah, because everybody's alone, so you're only getting the footage from that person. They could just cut that footage completely out on the production room floor.
Exactly.
I definitely-
They never interact with anyone else.
I need myself a Sam cut. So I guess we could go person by person. Makes most sense, probably.
Yeah, sure.
So let's start with Sam. His name is 22, and he has the best line in the whole show,
Gimme.
where he says he's a mosquito in a nudist colony. So much work to do.
This kid was pumped. Like, he's 22 years old, and he said, yeah, I've been thinking about doing something like this since I was 14. First off, that's really young to just be thinking, like, man, I just really want to go in the wilderness by myself and, like, see how long I can survive. Then, not to mention, just, like, thinking about it for 8 years.
Well, it was saying that I've been thinking about it since I was 14 is not as impressive when you're 22. Like,
Yeah.
the
Sure.
person's
Yeah.
like
But it's like-
40 or something. Like,
Yeah, like, granted, like, then it's just, well, you should have given up on this, like, in, like, mid-20s.
Ryan, I strongly disagree. I think this is a achievable dream.
But why are you, like, this is a crazy dream at 14.
Well, I think the dream is like not necessarily to the
It's
extent of this
exploration.
show, but like I feel like the dream could be like, I really like camping. And then, he's sort of built that up into he saw this like discovery, like, casting call, and he was like, oh, that's my dream.
Maybe he's dreaming of being a social media influencer since he was
Oh.
14.
That's true.
And now he's got his chance.
oh,
I think you bring up sort of. I think this show would be better if everybody were camping together.
I
No.
thought you were not, I couldn't go naked right there.
And also
like,
naked.
And naked, yes.
I mean, you're just describing Naked and Afraid XL, which is a show that I watched recently.
But I think we didn't get as much of it as like they probably will later in the season of how being alone is going to break these men down. Because like there was a hint of it now, but I bet that's brutal later on.
Yeah, it definitely seems there's more of like a really tactical, I gotta find shelter, I gotta make a fire, I have to try not to get eaten by a bear. It's kind of gripping them right now as opposed to like just being alone by themselves for a long time.
Yeah, they're busy right now once they've gotten themselves set up. Like, so I guess another thing we didn't really tee up is that they're just here for trying to be the last one surviving. So until nine people give up, they will be out there. So you
And
can
they
be
have
out.
no indication of when the other men give up.
That is correct. So like they could be out here for like 10 days. They could be out here for, somebody said a whole year. Like, who knows how long people will be out here.
People have really different ideas of how long this thing might carry on for.
Totally.
Which is really interesting.
Tell me more.
Do you want to know more?
I do.
No. Do you, how long-
There are some people who are like, man, I might be out here for a year. There's some guys who are like, I hope I make it 90 days. It's just kind of all over the place.
We got to talk about the guy who mentions the year, though, because, so most of the show is, in the wilderness. They're, trying to do things to survive. But then occasionally, and not for all of the men, only for a few of them, we get these, clips of their home. And so we see this man's home. I forget the name of him. But he's talking about his family. He has a very young daughter, and he's like, she might be a year older by the time I get back here.
It was the dog. He said that, the dog might be a year older. I think.
Oh.
No, he didn't say that about his daughter?
I don't think so.
He's worried about his dog more?
Yeah.
That's weird.
I don't know. The comment I thought was
Amazing.
about his dog.
That's wild.
The more intense one was the guy who's like, yeah, my wife is 4 months pregnant, and I'd left her to be on this show.
And
I
she
could
has
be
a
here for a
2-year-old.
year.
That real bummer for her.
Yeah.
Tough time. The one thing which was not clear to me is whether or not they tell the last person when they are the last person standing or not. Because I think that it could add a whole other psychological level to it if you know that they're never even going to tell you when you've won.
So
and it's
I-
just you have to give up in order to win.
So I have an answer for this question if
Yeah.
you want it. It's,
What's the
I guess
answer?
it's
You gotta
small
give
and
it.
it's spoily. I don't know if I want to spoil you for this whole season.
No, give it.
Just do it.
I assume they
They
tell you.
tell them.
Okay.
So when
I
I said 9 people give up, that means the last person.
I was fearing that they would tell them, but I think it would be a lot more extreme if they didn't tell them.
That'd be great if the description last episode was just only one person left. When will he decide to give up? He's the winner, but he doesn't know it.
He's been
Well-
out there for a whole year beyond the second place.
Well, he's in season 6. He's still on the show.
Oh man,
Oh.
He's just I'm building a log cabin out here.
man. It would be if you last through future seasons, you get to keep banking the prize money from each season.
he's at 3 million now. He's just living in this cabin in the woods.
That's great
By
for the channel
himself.
because then they don't have
He
to
doesn't
pay out
know that he's
anything.
won yet. He's still out there.
It's funny, that was also part of our comment on the show Solitary, where they did similar kind of challenges, and we'd be like, then they just say, "All right, you're done. We don't need to do it anymore." I'd be like, "What if like you're the only one left?" Like we talked about it on the pod how that would be better, but they don't. Do it.
The psychological toll I think that would take would be nuts.
Oh,
Like
for
you're
sure.
just out there for what, 90 days, 180 days, like
You would have no
you
concept.
just have no idea.
Yeah.
You would
Do
just
think
be so
you're
lost.
Like, let's say you're out there for 90 days. Do you think you're at that point you're keeping track of how many days it's been, or have you
Definitely.
totally lost count? You have no
well,
idea.
you have
You're
this
keeping track.
satellite phone and you have this other equipment with you, like how often that gets replaced, or like how long is the battery last on this stuff.
All right, so you're kind of leading something I wanted to get into, which is so like the premise is they're all alone. There's no producers, no crew, but like, and the satellite phone is just for when they want to get out. They have to call. Like, do you think that satellite phone's ringing 3 times a day of like, hey, you got to move this camera over here. Hey, we want you talking about this, and there's a little bit of human interaction going on.
I don't know. I don't think so. I was thinking about the camera work and how they must have had to train these people to shoot the show in the way that they wanted them to shoot it, but I don't know. I
think there's more training than it is like producers calling.
Well,
Because
something
I feel like some people are really heavily in the show, some people aren't, and I feel like that's because some of the people are just better at filming themselves and some people aren't. That I think maybe in future seasons they get better at telling people or getting more producer involvement. For season 1, I don't think so.
All right.
I don't think they have wireless cameras set up here. I think they're not satellite link up cameras.
Do you think
That'd be
each
cool.
person has their own dude just like trailing them?
No, but I
Well, they-
do have some minutia on that. Like, I don't know what season this starts, but my friend that recommended the show to us as well he said
On
that
the show.
he said that every like couple days or something they have to like meet up with somebody from the show to see if they're like dying or not.
yeah, I was kind of
That
wondering
makes
about
sense.
that.
So
I don't feel cheated by that though. That seems good.
That seems
I'm
good
into
and
that.
reasonable. I'm into it.
like so we've seen 2 days of these people on this island or whatever. If you don't have water at this point, you in trouble. Like you need to be able to drink some water. Some people in the show don't, as far as we could tell. So like you just got to call out at that point because they're not picking you up in 2 a.m. when you're like dying of thirst. Like there's definitely some like cause to be like, okay, after like a couple days I got to make sure these people have water, or like we got to take them out of the show.
Yeah, I mean, because as we saw with the one dude who, spoiler alert, ended up punching out at some point in this episode, the response time was not fast for pulling him out. He called in the middle of the night, and they didn't pull him until the next morning sometimes. So
Yeah.
You have to call back during business hours.
To be fair, we don't know when he actually called.
I guess that's true. That is
It
true.
did seem so. They show a clip on the show of him being like, "It's not worth it to me to do this anymore." Like whatever, and he's like very clearly gives up. Like it seems like he probably calls pretty close after that.
So you're referring to Josh.
Josh.
He was 31. He was wearing a non-waterproof jacket.
No. That was the other guy. That was the 24-year-old guy who was wearing.
Yeah, that was a different guy with the
So
non-waterproof
there's that
jacket.
24-year-old who basically says, "Hey, it's dumping rain." He's just like, "I'm wearing this jacket. It's not waterproof. I'm getting super wet. Also, it tears really easily. So when I'm walking through the forest, it's a bad situation. Like, why would you pick a non-waterproof jacket that tears easily if you know you're going to be trying to survive in the wilderness for an undetermined amount of time?"
Yeah.
That might be Joe. Joe is 24.
Yeah, I think that would have been Joe. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I wrote down. My notes aren't great for this episode. There's 10 people. There's too many people
And
to show in one episode.
And like we really only spent like meaningful time with like 3 or 4 of them in this episode.
Yeah. So,
And
like,
there's no real introduction to anyone. Like there's no opening kind of scene where you meet everybody who's going to be on it. Like you just slowly sort of get introduced to all these men.
they need like an episode 0 where they like intro these people. Like and they're
A voice from beyond the grave.
where they intro the people and their backstories and what their like survival skills are, and
Yeah.
then plop them on this island so you can like so we can like set up our fantasy football. We can like root for somebody to like win. Like at this point, I don't have anyone to root
But like,
for.
if they had episode 0, we either would have skipped that one, gone straight to episode 1,
Sure.
or we'd have watched episode 0 and been like, this is terrible. We don't know what the show is.
Yeah.
Honestly, okay, let's talk about like the stereotypes of the 10 men remain on the show. You
What?
got Sam, who's 22. You got a bunch of people in their 30s and 40s. And that's it.
Oh my god! Thanks.
So back to Sam.
Back to Sam.
So let's talk about a really iconic scene with Sam where we see I think 3 scenes total with Sam. We've talked about the first one. He talks about being a mosquito on a nudist beach. The next time we see him,
work to do.
the next time we see him, he's standing on the edge of a lake. He's sort of like looking off in the distance. Then he starts howling at the lake, and then he pauses, and you can hear like wolves howling back at him. And he looks at the camera, like so delighted. He's like so happy. Camera cuts to another man's camera who's across the lake, who's like, "What the fuck was that?" So that's
Is
Sam.
very good.
That's what Sam's doing out there.
Was Sam trying to call wolves or was Sam trying to call Sasquatch?
I think it was probably a
Just
Sasquatch.
trying to call the bees.
Do you think a Sasquatch would help you survive in this situation?
100% yes.
Everyone knows Sasquatch are great at survival.
Sasquatch
Would they
is
help-
the
would they
apex
help you?
predator.
Are they friendly, or would they?
They're friends
eat you?
and foes.
Well, it depends if you're making the knocks and establishing good rapport with the Squatch first.
It's all about decorum with the Squatches.
What do you do if you see a Sasquatch? Like, how do you approach it?
You do some knocks, you do some calls.
Tell me about the knock.
You just like take a stick and knock on the tree, and then it'll knock back.
In
Right.
any particular like pattern?
No,
Just some knocks.
They just love knocking on trees.
yeah, everyone knows this.
I think that was that Mitch, the person that was on the other side of the
Oh,
lake?
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So he was the one that we actually see at the end of the episode get fire, correct?
Yeah.
He was
Mitch
the
is-
only
Mitch is
one in
good.
this episode that got fire.
Mitch
And he
also started really strong when he's like coming on the island and he's like, sometimes nature gives you what you need, sometimes it doesn't. Like, he's a survival man.
Pretty quickly, we were like, Mitch seems like a guy who's going to go far, and he's the one who got fire. And we were also like, Sam is not lasting.
Sam is out. Sam's out of here.
So a thing with this fire was like he made some sort of like, oh, I forget what the term
Feather
was.
stick.
Some feather stick. You're right. And they were like showed you what feather stick. They told you on the screen what feather stick was. And this is definitely a Harrison. Harrison's always complaining that they don't have this in other shows. Is explained to you specific terms and teaching
Well,
you as things go.
Like, to qualify for being on the History Channel, there has to be at least a couple of moments of learning.
I think Truck Night in America ended that theory.
Yeah, I mean, they did have the brief history moment at the top.
Trucks.
yeah.
Americans love them.
So we learned what was it? Feather.
Feather sticks. We also learned about periwinkles. That was what it was called, right?
Yeah.
The,
Periwinkles is
the
some sort of
edible-
snail.
Yeah.
And like a feather stick was like cutting off the like wet pieces of a stick so you can actually burn it,
Mm-hmm.
which is how we got a fire, which was cool.
That's
I
cool.
think that like other people definitely should have learned what that was because they were struggling. There's a lot of struggling with fire this episode.
Yeah.
They
it
were
did
like,
look very wet.
they were like, yeah, it's super wet. And they're like, we get on this island, we need some shelter, we need some fire, then we can focus on water and we can focus on food. And this one guy's got fire.
Yeah.
And everyone else just seems kind of screwed.
It's kind of ridiculous that like they just don't know how to make it, because like you would think that like step one is like, okay, I need to know how to make fire. So at least like I'm either gonna make them feather sticks or I'm gonna bring something that easily lets me make fire.
Well, so they didn't know where they were going. So they didn't know they were going to be in a place where it was just
No,
gonna
they
be-
did. They knew about like the approximate like, climate of like the area.
I don't think they told them it was going to be that rainy. I think they just said that like
Well-
it's going to be like temperature range, not like what.
Yeah. Well, no,
not-
like, but you also
it's gonna
need to
be
know
the
about
rainy
like, oh, it's
season.
a swamp or something like that. You can't just like be rolling in without like being prepared for like at least that.
I don't know what they told them, but they clearly were not prepared for like this just wet, like wood. All the wood was wet. They could not deal with it. One guy could deal
Yeah.
with it.
Stuff still rains though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like in a lot of different climates, they could have come on a rainy day.
Yeah.
It's true, but no one was prepared. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Yeah.
don't yell. Don't look.
That's
don't
true.
look at
That's
me.
I
true.
think, but like I think they all were somewhat prepared. Like all these men clearly like are trying to make fire. Like they know how to make fire. They just couldn't do it because it was so wet.
Yeah.
Like I think they were prepared. It was just like the situation was like a lot more trying than they could have expected. This is kind of, the plunge into the unknown, if you
plunge.
will. It takes you off guard.
One guy said he had fire a couple times but couldn't maintain it.
Yeah.
He was able to start a fire but not finish it.
Yeah. It's not like anyone we saw like seemed like they had never made a fire before. Max.
I think now's the time to bring up. There's 10 contestants on the show. They're all men. Why is this show racist?
So I will say I looked a little bit at the history website. We'll talk about the gear stuff later.
The history.com website or
Yes.
like the historychannel.com website?
I believe history.com is the History Channel
Okay.
website. In later seasons, it is not just men. So they decided to
Good.
mix that up one.
Well,
But
it's
yeah.
just like,
just white
who
men.
do you get to sign up for this is really, I think, part of your problem.
Well, there's no
Especially if-
information about like what this casting call was.
Especially a show where they're like, is unknown. You're just like, oh, you're just in survivalist circles and you're like, okay, who do we get to sign up for this show? Like, it's much
Yeah.
harder when it's the first season of the show.
But I mean, it is on the producers to try to do some work to try to like, go out there
I
and
just
try to
wouldn't
recruit
blame
people.
them for not having women in the first season.
I also don't know. I mean, I assume that men are predominant in these circles, but like,
Well,
I don't know who they're reaching out to.
Here's what I'm gonna say. It's one thing to say, well, it's hard to find them forward where there's going to be 10 men in the show. It's another thing to have every 5 minutes 10 men
10 men
remain blasted on
remain.
the screen.
That's true. They do emphasize that it's only
It's
men
gotta
on the
be
show.
10 people remain. I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, 10 survivors,
10
10
10
campers,
remain.
10 human.
Yeah, like, I think if you do that, it's the amount of like how sort of weird it feels goes down a lot. Of they're just like they're not trying to emphasize it so much. Like the 10 men remain.
10
thing,
men is so weird.
which is really in your face.
It's weird.
What if every time a man gets eaten by a cougar, they get replaced on the show by a cougar? I'm not talking about a feline cougar. I'm
we-
talking about a sexy
Max,
lady who's 40.
We all know what you're talking about.
I did not. I thought like they were just talking about caging up some cougars
me
beforehand and
too.
how to make it more dangerous.
So yeah, one thing is like every
Cougars be
commercial break.
cougars.
Cougars be cougars! Cougars be cougars!
I don't know if we can have the two of you together anymore.
I'm sorry, guys. It's been a really good run, but Cougars v. Cougars?
That's the best possible
That's
reality
the best
show.
possible reality show.
All right, let's talk about what people bring on this show.
Let's do it.
Okay.
We gotta talk about that they bring, what we see them bring is we've seen some axes, we've seen some knives, we've seen people raise their hands, we've seen them just kind of have their general rain gear set up, and we've seen like what was the
Like a flint and steel.
tarp-
kind of thing? Is that what
flint
you're
and
talking about?
steel.
Yeah.
Have we seen anything else? We haven't
Some
really seen a whole-
tarp
some
ropes.
tarps and rope.
In the next time on, a guy's a bow and arrow.
Yeah, did he make it or did he bring it?
No, he brought it.
I haven't
So-
seen anyone with a
Definitely
bow and
brought
arrow.
it.
Well, so this is the thing of on the history.com site, it lists here is the default things everyone gets. It's mostly clothes, like you get this kind of coat and pants and all that stuff, like boots, whatever. And then there's a list of 51 items and says they get to pick 10 of these.
Oh.
And there's different categories. Like we don't go through it, but like there's like you can actually bring some food with you and like certain like predefined things. You can bring stuff for helping cooking. You bring stuff for helping hunting. So the bow and arrows in that list. But like you can mix and match however you want. But like what are the 10 things you want to use to help survive? And so that's the setup they have. So like they clearly don't they make it look like the guy just gets dropped on the island and the boat or helicopter, however they got, like just goes away. But clearly they are given like some packages of stuff, including the cameras, but also including like whatever items they've got. But it's like I don't want to go through all 51 items on the list now, but that's kind of how like the setup works, and that's why they refer to only having 10 items. But it's like you know, at one point Chris asked something about like how many guns someone would have, and it's like you can't. No one has guns, so you're not allowed to bring that. Like the closest thing was the bow and arrow on the.
That would just be a
Cool.
dumb move. You can make more arrows, not bullets.
Shh, Brian. That's a good segue, but I still want to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, so Does it list like what each person brought at all?
No.
Or okay.
This website was updated for season 6. So who the hell knows what people brought in season 1?
Well, I bet if you go on Wikipedia, it actually has all this info. But if you also go on Wikipedia, you're gonna find out everything what would happen. So
It's
I didn't
true.
do that.
That's fair. I probably would have done that if I had more time. But the categories, I'll label them so people
Hit
are-
me.
Shelter, bedding, cooking, hygiene, hunting, food, and tools.
So food is like they can
Chris.
bring food.
Give us one example of food.
I think that's why I'm saying season 6 might have added more stuff because like no one had food. They say 2 items max. They have beef jerky, dried
Don't read the whole list. Just
legumes.
things like that.
Chocolate.
Yeah, okay.
Chris, if you could bring one item not listed on that, what would it be? It has to be a real item that you can buy today for under
I would
200 bucks.
bring a lighter, like a Zippo.
Okay.
Because like I don't know how to fucking make a fire. We just fucking use a Zippo.
Sure.
But you could learn how to make a fire.
Can
Well,
I,
depends. Am I going tomorrow? Am I going like 6 months?
Got 1 week.
Max? In the context of your question, if I say I want to bring an RV, does that count?
Can you buy for under...
Whoa! Now there's
$100.
more stipulations. What
Probably
is
not
this?
then.
No, I just said like you can buy it today and it's under 200 bucks.
That's not what you said.
What did I say?
All
Yeah,
right.
you can buy today. Anyway.
No, he said the money. He said
Oh, he
the
said the
money.
money?
He said the money.
All right. I
Roll
have
the
a
tape back.
proposal.
Roll the tape back.
You bring a 2-year-old dog. You can definitely get a 2-year-old dog for like 200 bucks
Today?
Where?
Okay, so
At a
right
shelter.
now.
Right now.
I'm just
10
saying
PM
that
at
dog's
night.
gonna
10,
protect the fuck out of you.
10 p.m. tonight. All right. Let's talk about some more about these people.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we got. I think the other person that was really in the show was Chris.
I mean, there's one other person besides Chris. But let's talk about
Yeah,
Chris.
I mean, there's more people, but Chris, he brings out his saw. And he starts like sawing some wood, and he hits himself in the head. It was like the first thing we see him just like hit and that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that moment.
He's sawing a branch above his head and
Yeah.
then just hits him in the head.
And the other thing to note about Chris is this is day 1, and it's the longest he's gone without being armed.
Yes.
And meanwhile, he says this with a giant axe in his hand. Like he's really just referring to having a firearm.
So unsurprisingly, Chris is from Florida, and we get some home life with Chris where he talks about he's never less than 3 feet from a gun.
Yeah, we don't have a resident Floridian here tonight, so we can't get like
Yeah.
our perspective.
I mean, that guy looks like he's living an interesting life. There's a lot of living with a lot of animal friends. It seems like I think they have some pet squirrels. They have a bunch of different weird pets.
Were those squirrels or chipmunks?
Oh, they might have been chipmunks. I think you're right, actually.
I mean,
How many
It was
al-
basically like Snow White's, like that whole scene in his backyard.
Yeah.
How many alligators does he have in his backyard?
I mean, he's at least got one in the back so he can practice his wrestling. I mean,
He practiced putting his head in it.
yeah, that's right.
Chris is one of the guys who is very confident that he will be there for a while. He says 90 days.
Yeah, he's
And then he says, as long as I'm fatter than I am now, I can stay forever. He said something like that.
yeah.
What a
and then,
guy.
they're basically splicing clips of him talking about how maybe he'll stay forever, maybe he'll never go home with photos of like his wife and kids and stuff. He's like, maybe I'll never go back to them.
Well, he's trying to win the 500,000, dude.
No, I get it.
He wins that money, he can get a whole new house in Florida.
He can get a whole new family in Florida.
Well, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Well, what about the
Harrison.
animals?
No, he'll keep the animals.
Okay. And the firearms.
Oh, gotta keep the firearms.
Well, that's how he gets the
I don't know
animals.
about that.
All right, so that's enough with Chris. I don't really know who else you're talking about.
We gotta talk about Josh.
Josh.
Yeah.
Who?
There's a lot to talk about with
Josh is like the main focus of this episode.
Yes.
Who?
He was the guy who was like almost getting fire. He had like little like pieces of kindling, right?
Who?
The main thing with Josh is we see a bunch of times, and Josh seems like he's a little more nervous about the situation. And then Josh finds a bear cave. And the bear is not
Josh.
there, but there's all this like remnants of eating fish around, and
Fish
Josh is clearly
heads.
getting very nervous. And then it's like with the editing, it's unclear if it's right there. But then we definitely see multiple bears are in the trees above Josh.
Yeah.
And then we proceed to just hear like shaky camera stuff, which definitely sounds like Josh is just running away from wherever he is. So it's not a great debut for Josh.
Very scary.
One might call it the Blair Josh Project.
I mean, it's not too far off. So this sort of spooks Josh a bit, and he's talking about setting up his shelter, and then we get a lot of night vision of Josh, and bears are just walking around outside his tent.
Bears are literally like sniffing his tent while he's in there, and like there's a camera in the tent, and he like wakes up and he's gripping an axe, and he's like trying to figure out what to do, and then he's like, "Hey bear."
That was kind of great, though. Hey, bear.
Hey bear.
This is why I'm saying you gotta have a puppy for all of these people.
So the bears eat the
to
puppy?
eat?
Right? No. To like bark whenever a bear's close.
That's why you got the
Some
motion
sort of
activated
guard
cameras.
dog.
They'll alert you.
What about a robot dog?
Oh, some sort of Sony Aibo?
Yes, some sort of hypo.
We also see
walking
this
around.
bear clip like 8 times.
Yeah.
And like without commercials, it's like it's really annoying.
This was the only scene where like they definitely showed a bunch of stuff, did a commercial, then showed the exact same thing again after the commercial. It wasn't great.
It's probably the most exciting thing that happens on this whole season.
It might be.
I don't know.
The
There
bear,
are a lot of bears.
but a bear at night without fire, like that's pretty
Super
scary.
scary.
Well, when
Like,
in the later episode when a guy actually gets eaten by a bear, maybe that's more
yeah, yeah.
exciting.
But like, presumably anyone left after day like 3 has fire, which there's less likelihood of a bear or anyone coming near you with a fire. So like, this presumably would probably be the scariest and like craziest thing that you see. But maybe when they're hunting, you can get like some better shots. But like, I don't know. This is probably one of the best shots of the show.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of ways people could get hurt, though. Like
Sure.
hunting or like falling.
But like, do they have the shots for that?
Bears are mauling them.
Man, if there's an actual bear attack on this show, oof.
Or
Yeah.
a squatch attack.
Or a squatch.
So
Knocking.
In the case of like a bear attack, like, do you think that anybody is nearby enough that can like step in and like help out?
It
No
doesn't
way,
seem
right?
like it.
0%.
No.
A bear attack? Like, it's
Yeah.
going to happen in like 5, it's going to happen in 2 minutes. Like, that's not a, like,
I think there's gonna be, you got some time
if
like
you're
in the
being
standoff.
surrounded and hunted by wolves, maybe, because that's not going to be a 2-minute thing.
Right.
I do wish we had more information about like these guys' like background and survivalist training and sort of their experiences. We don't get really anything about like what they know or like what the bar is for this show.
I think that, like, that might come as the show goes on.
Maybe.
Like,
But it would have to be a lot of like footage that they've taken before the show, unless these guys just like set up a camera and just want to like pontificate to themselves. Like,
it's probably going to be, we already saw some introing people.
But the introing is more about your home life. It's not about your like survival preparation. I think we would have seen more if they
Yeah.
were going to go there. I don't think they're going there.
Yeah, I
it
definitely.
doesn't seem like there are any interviews with the men.
Yeah, I definitely want to see basically what they have on Naked and Afraid, where they're just like they have the runs like, okay, we gave them this test and this interview, and here's their survival score, and here they're good at hunting, they're bad at building shelter.
Sure.
You want some sort of Dr. Pepper situation, make
Yeah.
sure that they're okay, they're through the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They can make it.
I
you know?
want to know that there is a process and that it should be trusted.
You gotta trust the process.
Yeah, I think that's why I was trying to push for season 2, because I think they would have learned a little bit of this stuff in season 1, but I was outvoted. So maybe they do more of that in season 2 and 3, and season 6 is in the Arctic. That seems pretty.
That seems
That's
amazing.
brutal.
Want to
Yeah.
see that. I wonder what the items are for that.
Yeah. Well, in season 6, one of the items is like some sort of ice shoes to help in icy situations, like that. You know.
So they all get the same like base set of like clothing.
Yeah,
Is that-
there's some clothing at the top, and then they
Okay.
get to choose 10. Also, this website's really anemic. There's like no information. It's like
Weird.
they had like an intern set it up.
It's weird because they literally tell you on the show like check out the items on history.com.
Yeah,
Like they tell us to do this.
But
It's not like we went
s-
hunting.
Every season they update the website, and they're just like, "Fuck it, no one watches
Yeah.
season 1 anymore. No one needs to know."
Hey, it's free on Prime.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone's
That's why it
watching
doesn't
it.
make any sense.
It makes no sense.
Not the Arctic season.
None.
Maybe if we do the Wayback Machine, we can find out what it said. For
Yeah.
season one. So I have one more bit of minutia.
Well, we haven't finished Josh's
Okay.
story.
Nobody
because
cares about Josh.
we care about Josh. It's
Tell
a
me
very
about
important thing we
Josh.
care about Josh in that. So he has this rough night, but like the bears, he doesn't get eaten by a bear. Spoiler alert. But Josh decides on night one
I'm
he's
out.
done. And so we see like the morning, the boat's coming to get him, and then what do we see after that?
9 men remain.
Yes.
Also, bear waving goodbye.
And then also a bear waves goodbye, which is incredible.
That was definitely just a shot of a bear.
I mean, that's
know,
just
but-
that bear just celebrating. He just
Like,
like
oh,
booted
yeah.
that dude out of his territory, basically.
Do you guys remember at the beginning of the episode how many bears are on the island? It was like
700.
5,000 bears.
I was going to
Everybody
say
gave
7,000.
It's like 5 or 7,000.
100,000 bears.
2,000 million.
Multiple bears.
It's like 5,000 bears, like 400 wolves or something. They're like
and
Cougars.
cougars.
some amount of cougars.
I'm going to say 1,000 cougars.
They definitely
We're really good at numbers.
they definitely set this show up in a very scary way. They were like, you're definitely going to get eaten. They were setting some somber music. They have like these bears. They're coming out. And like, in all reality, this place is probably fine. Like these bears, they're not grizzly bears. They're just black bears. They don't really attack humans usually. So like cougars are really the only ones that are going to come after you.
There was some stat that they put up that this island is like where the most cougar attacks happen or something.
Yeah, because
It was
cougars
like,
don't
did you
really live
remember-
anywhere.
I mean, still doesn't seem good.
No, it's not good.
I would not love to camp
This is
there.
definitely not a really safe place to live, but they definitely made it more dangerous than it really is.
So since we discussed that the person at the end is told it's done, should there be like a Hunger Games cannon that goes off when someone quits so that everyone else knows one more has been consumed by
Eliminated.
the island?
Yes, I mean they absolutely need that. That would be so
Well,
good. I mean,
But I
Rob.
think this is building up the psychological like horror of like not knowing how close you are. Like
yeah, like if you're not,
I
gonna,
do like that aspect of it. I,
I
think
definitely
that's really
like that,
interesting.
and I would prefer that they lean all the way into it and not tell them when the show's over. But if you're already gonna ruin it, you might as well.
Well, when
do the
there's two
canon.
people left,
Because I bet that last episode when there are 2 men left, like, and you don't know how the other person is doing, like that must be crazy.
That's probably true.
And you don't know that there's only one other person out there. Like you could think that like everybody made it.
True.
Like that's really interesting. Max.
If you had to make a guess for how this like sort of Hunger Games style, like, oh, this person was eliminated, would go, how would it go, Rob?
Like not a cannon, something else?
Hit me.
I'm going to go
Here's
with
one idea.
cannon.
I got another idea. Tequila.
so I do think that it would be better if they knew, because when you're getting down to like 3 or 2 people, that's like you're super motivated because you're like, oh, I'm the last. There's only 2 people left. I just have to out survive
That's
one
true,
other
too.
person. Whereas like now they're like, I don't know how many people I have to survive. Like there's definitely some sort of like psychological motivation when you know you're like the last ones. Whereas
But
like if they never told you, I don't know. I feel like it'd be better to know.
I think that's just unsafe, dude. Like, because then people are gonna push themselves too much, and then like,
Yeah, that's what the show's about, Brian. It's about pushing yourself.
they don't want people to die. Like,
Yeah, we
We don't
told
know
you they're
that.
not going to die. We also don't know they don't want them to die.
they definitely don't. Like, because that your insurance is gonna go through the roof, and it's not
They
gonna go
have
for ratings.
insurance. The insurance has insurance for that. Okay.
They don't want someone to die. Think of insurance.
My insurance. Oh, great! Now some guy died on my reality show. My insurance is gonna go through the roof.
That's what Jeff
My
Probst is
reality
thinking.
show insurance. The History Channel will go bankrupt.
I'm honestly surprised at like the quality of the stuff that they've been putting out, though.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we'll talk about that when we
Yeah.
get to ratings.
Here's one idea for when people go out. What if instead of the satellite phone, you had like some different colored flares and like you shoot one into the sky and it corresponds to the
Oh.
reason you're going out. Like one is like health issue, one is like I'm scared, one is like a bear.
Oh,
And then so
man.
all the other men can like see like, you know, they know someone's gone and they know why.
It'd be pretty wild.
That'd be good.
What if it is like the Hunger Games and they have these fireworks that go off and then your face shows
A
up?
portrait of them. And these men have never seen each other before. Like, man, are there only other men out here? It's kind of weird.
What if it was not fireworks, but it was like the end of The Rock, where you have to like wave the flares with the green
Yes,
smoke, and then you just see
that's
the
also
producer-
very
You just see
good.
the producer, green smoke, green smoke, green smoke.
What if you got to choose like your outro song and you have to choose it before you go on there, and whatever that is just plays all over the island?
Oh.
What's Sam's outro song?
Tequila.
Tequila.
Harrison, would you rather be in that like lake survive? Like, remember that show we were watched? Did you see the show where they were on the lake?
You mean Ice Lake Rebels?
Yeah. Would you rather be on that show or this show?
Ice Lake Rebels, 1,000%. In Ice Lake Rebels, they're living in like a floating
Yeah, but you got
houseboat.
that compost toilet in the middle of nowhere. You're not
Yeah.
near anything. You have to actually live there. Here, you're like, there's bears at night. I'm leaving. Like,
I guess so.
Like-
So you're saying would I rather spend the winter in a houseboat on a frozen lake outside of the
Yeah.
rules and laws of society?
or would you rather be on this, you know, alone in the wilderness reality show?
There's no contest. It's definitely Ice Lake Rebels for me.
All right.
I would
all right.
not
I
do
mean, you
well in
can
this kind
only-
of survival situation.
You only go on this show if you think there's a chance you could be there forever.
Yeah.
It seems like.
I mean, you'd think so. I don't think anyone in here is saying like I want to be away from my family for 3 months, except for that one guy.
Well,
I mean, I would be away from
like
my family for 3 months.
Sam's like, this is great. I'm just like living my best life out here in the middle of the wilderness.
What a guy.
we don't even know what he's thinking.
That's fair.
What kind of thoughts go through
Well,
his
there was
head?
also another young guy. What was his name? Joe. He's 24. You know, if you don't have a family, if you can like learn how to do this, like why not? I don't know. As long as
Yeah.
you're not getting eaten by a cougar, you're good to go. Anyone
Uh,
else got any?
I wish that they had shared a little bit about what their jobs are that allow them to just go off on a reality show for an undetermined amount of time.
But that's true of every reality show.
Most reality shows, you know how long it's going to be. It's not just this open-ended survival
Well,
experiment.
Like The Bachelor or whatever, you could be there for like literally like a day,
But at
or
least
you could be there for months.
But at least you can tell your job, like, it's like, hey, this is going to be like a maximum of 2 months. This one you're just like, I don't know. It could be years. I'm not sure.
They're preppers. That's they're
Yeah.
teaching preppers. That's what their job is.
Probably.
There was some reality show, I don't remember which one, it was a long time ago, where someone had a plot point about the day that they could get their job back, that they weren't gone too long.
That's fun.
And they were like, oh, this is the day now,
Oh.
like I can't get my job back, and they got eliminated the next day.
no.
I bet they took him back.
All right, I have one more bit of minutia.
Hit
Alright.
me.
So there was a time where
A lands before time?
some guy was like, "Oh, I got some mussels and some periwinkle or whatever," and Max was like, "Is this ASMR?"
He was definitely like rolling those muscles and those periwinkles around his hands.
I
It was
think-
like one of the most beautiful shots of the program on this very large screen TV. It's like a close up of his hand full of shells.
Sounds
And it's like-
great.
A minute long.
Should we take that 30 seconds and you fall asleep to that, Max?
I mean, I've never done ASMR. I'm just saying, like, this guy kept rolling them around in his hands, and, like, I get it.
All right, let's get to ratings here. Harrison, what do you got for me?
This is definitely a top third show for me. I'm a big fan of survival shows in general. I just think that they're pretty interesting. The format of this one's just super compelling. It's really, I mean, I think that I'm curious to see what the kind of production quality of the show continues to be, given that all the people are shooting it themselves. So like, I'm a little bit curious on that front. But yeah, it's a good show. Definitely top third.
All right, Brian, what do you got?
Bottom of the top. I really do think that it's an interesting show, and I really want to know like what people brought, because then I would understand like what I should be thinking about bringing.
You got to go to the Wayback Machine. Max, what do you got?
Middle third, top of the middle. It was okay.
All right. that's all you got for me,
That's
Max?
all I got.
No reason.
Let's move
Yeah,
on.
man.
I don't know. What do you got?
I also think top of the middle. I think I would have appreciated a little more information about the people who were on the show and a little more sort of survivalist knowledge, but it was very good.
Rob, what do you got for me?
So as people who have listened to the show know, I'm definitely a big fan of shows that are kind of not as much on rails and have more sort of freeform what's going on. So this is definitely top third show for me. I like that it was kind of unstructured and you kind of didn't know where it was going to go. So I'm in.
Man, season 4 I think is killing it. I think this is also a top third show. I think it's very compelling. I definitely want to know what's going on, and I think it's also a show that I don't really need to give my full attention to, but I might want to. But so we'll see. I definitely am interested to see how these people who makes it all the way through. I'm in.
Cool.
Can we also have a side podcast now of who put History Channel on?
Ooh.
I mean, History Channel has been doing some great work.
It's got some stinkers, but it's a better track record than MTV.
What stinkers have we done for History? I only know the 3 that were good.
What did we do?
Night Fight was not great.
No,
Oh, Night Fight was
Yeah.
Did we
good.
do
Yeah.
Night Fight on the show?
no, different show. Night Fight.
No,
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
a bunch of cosplayers fighting and then getting exhausted.
Some people might have really liked that show.
Not naming names.
Are we talking about Night for Death?
No.
No.
Night Fight.
These are so close to each other. My drunk mind cannot comprehend.
So season 4 is doing really good. I actually have been watching some Instant Hotel from last week.
Oh.
We did get an update from James, who could not make it tonight, that he has been watching it, and
Okay.
he was requesting that we do a special segment on a future episode. I'm just relaying
Okay.
that information.
Do it.
But yeah.
Well, so when he gets back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're going to hold Instant Hotel
Yeah.
talk.
I'm just saying the second group of people is way crazier. I like the second group of people more.
Like already the season 2?
No. So season 1 has 2 groups of people.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh my god.
The good thing is Max doesn't know this because he was on the podcast.
No, I was on the Instant Hotel podcast. I just didn't know that. There's 12 episodes total.
You're saying you didn't know things we talked about in the podcast? I can't
Correct.
believe that.
That is correct. Yes. It's been a long week, guys.
But what was that extra bedroom that didn't have the bed in it for? What was
We'll
that
never
about?
know. We'll never know.
Also, our favorite shore friends are back.
Oh yeah.
They're on vacation.
The Florida Mammoth Shore friends?
No, our favorite friend, not James's favorite friend.
Oh, the Geordie Shore.
Jersey Shore family vacations back. First episode is it's a sad one.
Oh no.
It's a
The-
sad one?
Is
it
it some sort of Mike situation?
It is
the dude.
about the situation.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So they just wave goodbye as he's going to jail?
He is not going to jail yet. But
So is he on the family vacation?
He's going to
on
the
the
chair?
vacation.
No, he's not, dude.
No.
Are you serious?
No,
Yeah.
he's staying on the fucking season.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
Wait,
Okay, where is the family vacation taking place?
Okay, so
The electric
episodes 1 episode 1 and 2 are just leading up to him getting sentenced.
Okay,
So
so they're
he
not
gets
on the
sentenced-
The
vacation.
vacation
What?
is in prison.
So they're gonna go drop him off at the prison, like the whole crew.
They might, I don't know. They
That's
have this
wild.
is like obviously they filmed this like he got sentenced to 8 months in prison, and that was like the lead up in the show. And then the next episode is when they actually go on vacation. They go to like some cabin somewhere.
Okay, so the first 2 episodes are him getting sentenced, and then he also comes with them on the vacation.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Man.
he's in the show, and like the first episode is like them just being like, "Hey, sorry that you're getting sentenced. Like it sucks, whatever, bullshit." And like Ronnie is like lying that his wife or girlfriend beat him up. He's saying that he got beat up in some like town, like in Secaucus. He has like some black eye, and no one believes him. It's weird. Anyway, it's still like I still enjoy checking in with them. I don't know. It's fun. They're fun people.
I didn't watch yet, but I'm interested to.
Yeah. I'd still this if you liked what it was, it's still like the same thing.
All right.
It's interesting that Comcast also says it's still season 2. It's like season 2, episode 20, and I'm like, come on, guys. There's like a 20-month gap.
I feel there's a bigger gap between the first half of season 2 and the second half of season 2 than between season 1 and season 2.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was like a 2-month gap.
Crazy.
Anyone else got any updates?
This is not really an update, but I was listening to the Savage Builds pod, which I was not on.
Oh.
yeah.
And there was some discussion around titanium.
Oh no.
And so I had a little nugget of info about titanium I thought I'd share, which is that my wedding ring is made out of titanium.
Oh.
Oh.
And so why did I pick a wedding ring made out of titanium? Well, like I'm not someone who wears jewelry. Like this is the only piece of jewelry I have. So when I was trying on rings, I was like, oh, this feels really weird. I'm like not sure I'm gonna get used to this. Titanium is way lighter than the other kind of rings they had. Like it's very noticeable how much lighter. And so I was like, oh, like on the hand it felt a lot better. Like, oh, I could kind of get used to this. But they're like, so what you got to know if you buy a titanium ring is if something happens and like it needs to be resized, you cannot resize it. You need to get a new one. Like if you get rings with different metals, there's like sort of a straightforward procedure to resize it. But like a titanium ring, and I don't know if it's obviously not impossible. There's a way to do it, but like if you go to a regular jeweler, they're not set up to do it. It's probably prohibitively expensive to do it. So titanium, light but very hard or strong or something that makes it so you can't resize a ring.
Yeah, it's notorious for how hard to work. It's really hard to work with.
Right, but it kind of makes sense. If I want something that is strong but can fly, I want something strong but light.
Yeah.
So titanium makes sense.
Yeah. So if it gets stuck on your finger, do they have to how do they get it off?
I think you can like cut it off, but then like it's you're not getting it back together. It's just like you're throwing it in the garbage or
Oh, I did watch another episode of that where they made some like Mad Max style vehicles.
Ooh.
That was pretty fun because it wasn't just like they were just having a lot more fun in the episode than they were with this like, hey, let's go to this lab where they built this, let's move it over here, let's build that. And it was like a lot less structured, and it was kind of fun to see them like try to hit targets on these other like Mad Max style vehicles. So
that sounds fun.
that was definitely a much better episode.
One thing about listening to the podcast was when you talk about shooting guns at the Iron Man suit, I was trying to imagine, so is there someone in the Iron Man suit when they're doing this or not?
No. It was around like a
I think our talk was
dummy.
about how you couldn't wear that because it would get you in the jugular and you'd be done.
It became clear at some point, but at first, like, then they're going to shoot guns at this suit. And I was like, oh, is he in the suit?
Oh man.
that would have been nuts. He would have been crazy. All right, I guess that's it, guys. I guess you can find us on Twitter at whoputthison. You can find us on facebook.com/whoputthison. You can email us questions and suggestions at whoputthison@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys next time.